In this video, we're going to talk about the benefits of outsourcing in business. If you've ever wondered if outsourcing is right for you and your organization, stay tuned and you'll be able to find out. First, you'll discover some of the financial benefits of outsourcing and how it could probably make your business account sing. Then you'll uncover some of the secret strategies top companies use to outsource for growth. So let's get started. When we talk about outsourcing, we're simply talking about using external resources to boost your business. And those external resources could be humans or machines. First, outsourcing allows you to delegate those mundane, soul-sucking tasks that you or members of your staff complete every single day. Maybe they don't take a high level of function and maybe they're highly repetitive. Maybe these are things that we can take off people's plates to give them a greater challenge and have a more exciting workplace. One of the main ways we hear people talking about outsourcing is in terms of cost reduction. And we have different feelings about that. Depending on where we lay in our opinions, we might think, oh my gosh, this is horrible. You're putting people out of full-time jobs when you outsource, or rather than giving them all the benefits. That's one way to do it. But there's other ways to do outsourcing as well that cuts costs. Now, yes, number one, sometimes you can get less expensive labor. But at the same time, sometimes you actually have labor that you pay more, but maybe you're not paying some of these additional costs. Maybe they come already trained. Maybe they come already with some of the technology that you need as well. And so that's one way to cut costs using this kind of labor. Also keep in mind that when you outsource, it allows you to be flexible with where your business is. And so maybe there's a certain time of year where you need an influx of employees. It may not make sense for you to hire these people in-house if you know that it's just seasonal. So outsourcing that part of your business might be a great way to save costs in the long run. Some polls have shown that there are companies out there that save as much as 78% by hiring virtual assistants versus having assistants in-house in terms of having them as a full-time employee. Now you might think, okay, are they just underpaying these virtual assistants? Well, certainly you can go to different countries where people charge less, but let's think about this. Even within the same country, oftentimes people are more efficient when they're working from home or virtually. So that same person that's doing the exact same work might take half as much time if they're at home because they're not having as many of the interruptions that happen in the workplace. Maybe not the side conversations, maybe they're not stopping to take a walk to Starbucks. And I'm not saying those things don't have a place or that they're not valuable, but again, in terms of outsourcing cost reduction, something to think about. Stanford University actually found that hiring virtual assistants can cut attrition in half. In other words, virtual assistants were much less likely to quit their jobs than in-person assistants who are actually your employees. And part of that probably has to do with the flexibility that they have, the fact that they can pick up other business as well. So if you have a high attrition rate, you may want to consider having virtual assistants. We have more juicy tactics to get into, but first I want to ask you, how do you feel about the concept of outsourcing? Jump in the comments, let us know. Do you think it's great? Do you think it's evil? What do you think about outsourcing? And does your opinion change depending on the size of the organization? And so let's say that we're talking about a very small business with less than 5 employees. Is it wrong for them to outsource? Let's compare that with a company that has over 100,000 employees. So is there a difference depending on the firm size? I'd love to know your opinion. Drop it in the comments. One of the other great things about leveraging outsourced talent is 24-hour access. So if you're having people working for your organization in different time zones, you have 24 hours of productivity. You just have people working in these different time zones at different times. Now, you may or may not think that that's important, but if you have the type of company that's likely to come across a PR crisis, or maybe you're handling sensitive information or travel and transport, it's probably beneficial to have people available at all times. I think one of the funniest examples I can think back to a company that probably could have utilized 24-hour service in an area would be British Airlines. So in 2013, they had an incident where they lost some of their flyers' luggage. How many of you have had that experience? I'm pretty sure we all have. And when you had that experience, did you feel like the airline particularly cared? I'll let you answer that question. All airlines are not the same, but I'll let you answer that question. So in this particular case, it was very unfortunate because this couple was arriving back in New York from Paris and their medications were in that luggage. British Airlines was giving them the runaround, and so their son tried to contact the organization and say, hey, my parents really need their medications. We're not really having any luck. We really need this bad. And so he couldn't get a response from anyone. Now, this is about the time that Twitter first started creating something called promoted tweets, which means that you could pay money at the time to get more people to see your tweet. So he put down $1,000. Did I mention the son was a marketing executive? That might be germane to this story. He put down $1,000 to promote a tweet about the bad service that British Airways provides. And so over the course of the next few hours, he was interviewed by over 5 international major news stations. Those tweets were shared hundreds of thousands of times. And then what eventually happened is around 8 a.m. Eastern Time, British Airways responded via tweet saying, "We're so sorry we missed your original request. Our customer service hours are from 9 to 5 or from 8 to 5 every day." All of the negative publicity that they received, all of the backlash that they had, could have been prevented if they had access to talent 24 hours a day. Just someone available just to respond, whether via social media or calls or whatever else. So think about your business. Are there times where you might want to make sure that someone is available at all times? If so, outsourcing might be a good opportunity for you. One of the ways that I use outsourcing is that it gives you access to specialized skills. Sometimes you don't need someone to come on as an employee that's part-time or full-time, but you need someone to complete a particular project. And so outsourcing is a wonderful way for you to find someone with an expertise in a very particular area that can come in, complete a project, or work for a specific period of time and then go and come as needed as a consultant. But rather than hiring someone on staff that you don't need, it just makes sense to outsource and find someone that can come in on an as-needed basis. Okay, so I have 2 more points for you. One of the last ones is scalability. Are you trying to grow your business? If you are in any kind of way, outsourcing is a great way to get the talent you need before you have the budget to hire part-time and full-time employees that you might be providing all kinds of benefits and additional training to. In addition to just having access to talent that you need before you necessarily have the budget for full-time and part-time employees, it allows you to be present in other markets. So let's say that you're located in Boston, and maybe you want to be able to do business in London, and maybe you want to be able to do business in Accra, in Ghana, West Africa, right? Using outsourcing, you can find talent in those 2 different locations and start to expand your business there before you have the full presence. And so again, outsourcing allows us some unique opportunities when it comes to scalability. And you might be surprised to learn that many of the larger organizations today started using the power of outsourcing years ago. Some of the larger companies that we know of on the Fortune 500 that have been around for over 100 years started outsourcing portions of their business over 100 years ago when they first started. Caterpillar Tractor is just one of those organizations that outsourced much of their production. They kept innovation in-house, but they outsourced the production of their machines. And so if you want to join the ranks of some of the most successful companies in existence, outsourcing is a pretty smart way to do it. If you have a hard time wrapping your mind around outsourcing, I think one of the best books on that is by Timothy Ferriss, and it's called The 4-Hour Workweek. You've probably heard of it, but if you haven't, it's okay. Go ahead and get yourself a copy of that, read it, understand how he and other organizations started outsourcing with very small things and were able to scale very fast. And so it does take a little bit of a mind shift to think about how you can use outsourcing, but once you start using it, you'll see it's actually quite addictive. Now, we're talking about growing our businesses in the future and figuring out resources and tools and tactics for how to do it. So if you're curious about if outsourcing works for you, obviously you're thinking about the future of your organization. And so I do have a free gift for you. If you go into the description of this video, you'll see that there's a link to download my Future Ready Workbook. If you click that to download, you're going to find some really cool tools and tactics for ensuring that you're ready to embrace the future no matter what happens.